Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jesse Gunkel from the BR Weather Center. And again, we're keeping a very close eye on Sally. Earlier today, it became a Category 2 storm, so it got a little bit stronger. Luckily, since the 4 o'clock advisory, we haven't seen much in the way of change. Not too much stronger out there. You can see right now that winds are sitting at about 100 miles per hour. We've got a couple of gusts up to about 120 out there, heading west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. Again, it's a very slow-moving system. In fact, it may start crawling, in fact, as we move forward, or even become stationary at some point tonight or early tomorrow. Right now it sits about 100 miles east of the mouth of the Mississippi River. What I do want to point out is, obviously, you can see here, we're starting to see a little bit of thunderstorm activity kind of bubble up on the southern side. Most of the afternoon it was sitting on the northern side of the storm. We really never saw it wrap around. Well, if it starts to do that later on tonight, that again will show us more signs of intensification out there, so we could slowly start to see the system build up, because earlier today the system became a little bit more vertically stacked, and that's one of the signs of obvious intensification. That's why we started to see the winds really start to pick up a little bit around the center of the storm this afternoon, and that's why it quickly jumped to a Category 2 storm. Now also notice it's a very large cloud field that extends from Louisiana all the way back into the southern tip of Florida and all the way down into Cuba at this point. And you see again a lot of those thunderstorms out there kind of developing hopefully around the center. Again, no well-defined eye yet, and obviously no eye wall, but if that does happen, because again it's moving into a very favorable environment, and that's going to be the case for at least the next 36 hours here. It's a slow mover. Notice again, when you look at the picture here, we're talking Tuesday 1 p.m. It's just crawling past the mouth of the Mississippi River as a Category 2 storm. We're also seeing it by Wednesday morning, just about to make landfall around the Mississippi-Louisiana line. And compared to previous models, the trend continues to keep it a little bit further east, which means for us in the capital area, the impacts continue to drop, which is great news for us. They've already dropped us from the flash flood watch along with the tropical storm warning in East Baton Rouge. So as you see here, we're talking once it gets inland, it looks like Sally's going to run into a little bit of wind shear and quickly decrease. However, long term, the concern is there's not much in the way with the lack of steering winds out there that this system may meander a little bit across portions of Mississippi, Georgia, and maybe even dipping back down into Florida at some point throughout its life. So again, that is definitely going to be something to watch further down the road. I think the next thing that's really going to drive it towards the northeast will be a cold front that arrives a little bit closer to the weekend. You can see overall model trends here. I just want to show you again here, you're kind of seeing that all of them are kind of dispersed a little bit. No one center point, obviously. And I do believe, again, there is that possibility that the eye could wobble a little bit before it eventually picks its final direction, and which is most likely going to be northbound and then heading off towards the northeast. So is there the potential that it could shift a little bit towards the west? Obviously, yes. Again, it could shift a hair west, but I still believe the whole system is going to remain far enough east that we're not going to see much in the way of impacts out there. And just kind of ignore this guy. That's kind of an outlier at this point. So you can kind of throw that one out. That's kind of some bogus information. So here you go. We have been dropped from the tropical storm warning for East Feliciana, East Baton Rouge, and Amite. There are a couple parishes and a county in southern Mississippi that are still underneath that tropical storm warning. They are keeping Livingston, Ascension, St. James, and St. John the Baptist, and even portions of Tangipahoa Parish underneath that hurricane warning. Again, the concern is mainly because of the storm surge, not because of hurricane force winds. So as you look at the big picture here, you can see some of those outer rain bands. For us tonight, look for a few passing showers out there. Not much in the way of rainfall. I think a lot of those will kind of move off and on throughout the evening hours, mainly from northeast down to southwest. And as you see here, obviously, we're going to start to see some of those bands kind of drive in. That's going to be the issue, because if this system pretty much parks itself, stalls, then these rain bands will continue to batter the coastline of Florida, southern Mississippi, and southern Alabama. And again, it's an unlimited supply of moisture, because when you look at the big picture here, we've got a lot of moisture getting pumped in. It's a conveyor belt, and you can see how it extends all the way down to the southern Gulf and even over portions of Cuba at this point. So again, the concern is going to be astronomical amounts of rain with this system. Right now, our Doppler radar just showing a couple of showers passing through Tangipahoa Parish, a couple more moving across the lakes at this point. And then obviously we got to watch for that eventual storm surge because of that easterly flow over the next 12 to 24, maybe even 36 hours out there, that it's going to continue to drive that water inland. But watch our FUTURECAST model, and this is the IBM, this is our in-house model. And you can see here that the banding storm kind of even parks itself, almost stalls, and then goes back towards the east a little bit by the time we get to late on Tuesday around 7 o'clock. So either Tuesday afternoon, early evening, you can still see how some of those bands extend well into the Gulf of Mexico. Some of those heavier showers are moving in anywhere from Pensacola to Mobile Bay. You can see that storm eventually. This one is taking the track even further east, right across portions of Alabama and Florida, the Panhandle around Pensacola, and then driving inland. So Fort Walton Beach, Navarre Beach, all of those areas will get hit very hard with this system, and also some of the greatest storm surge would be in that general area. Could potentially be even up to about 11 feet. So watch our FUTURECAST. Obviously for us, a little bit of cloud cover. Look for a couple passing showers tonight, tomorrow. But I think overall, we're talking rain totals probably less than 2 inches across much of the area. And you can see that they've even kind of decreased our potential chances to see tropical storm force winds now to about 10 to 20% here in the capital area. So again, just watch those overall winds, and we're talking anywhere from about 20 to 30 out there. And I think that's, again, that's probably the greatest at this point. You can see the stronger winds now expected to be around Pensacola and Mobile Bay, obviously, as we make our way into Wednesday. Storm surge alerts, and again, the concern is, again, the water getting pushed inland. However, if those winds wrap around and actually move from the north, and maybe even will be more northerly versus northwesterly, that water could actually get pushed back out into the Gulf. So the water that's currently sitting in the lakes like Maurepas, Lake Pontchartrain, and Lake Bourne could get pushed outward, which is great, which means that those levels from 4 to 6 could get dropped to possibly 2 to maybe even 4, maybe 5, somewhere in that category, which is, again, a much better sign for those on the North Shore. Wind gusts out there, again, not too much. Right now about 20 in the New Orleans area. For us, pretty calm out there. They've dropped us from that flash flood watch. Again, we're only talking about areas mainly east of I-55. You can see here that sharp grading out there. Anything around Baton Rouge or mainly I-55 and west of there, down to about 2 inches or less. And then obviously the further east you go, that's the concern out there, 10 to 15, anywhere from southern Mississippi into southern Alabama and also southern Florida. Panhandle could see anywhere 10 to 15, potentially maybe even 25 plus. And again, that's currently what our model is calling for at this point. So again, locally, things get better and better for us as that track continues to push further and further east. I'm not saying we're completely out of the water quite yet, because there still is that chance it could walk a few miles towards the east, but I still think the majority of the impacts are going to sit on that eastern side of the storm. So tornado threat, that's very low. Rain chance now very low. And even storm surge very low. Even winds probably about 10 to 15, maybe a couple gusts at about 25 or greater, maybe even up to about 30, and that should be just about it. I don't see much in the way of power outages at this point. So key here is keep an eye on this system because it is a slow mover. There still is a chance for things to kind of move a little bit. The system could wobble a little bit over the next couple hours, but right now, just looking at what we're seeing from the National Hurricane Center, what we're seeing from model runs right now, it's looking better and better for us. We continue to watch those overall impacts decrease at this point. So stick with us. Make sure you download our app at beourproud.com for the very latest out there, all the information that you need out there. It's all on your fingertips. We're going to continue to have more updates. Obviously, we're going to have another update coming at 10 o'clock this evening. We're also going to be having the latest information on our newscast. So we'll have one at 9 o'clock on Fox 44. We'll have another one on NBC, and then right after that, we're going to have your Q&A out there. So if you do have some questions or concerns, if you have some property maybe in Gulfport, maybe somewhere in Biloxi, maybe somewhere in Florida, you have some vacation homes, somewhere you got to be, well, again, just drop us those questions on Facebook, and we'll try to get to everything this evening. Thanks again for joining us, and always stay prepared.